No matter how deep the chaos goes or how long it's been going on or how distraught you might feel or how distant God might feel today, he might feel far away. He wants to help you reorder things. He still has purpose for you. He's not done. He's for you. He's working with you. And he is inviting each of you to more today. 40 days and 40 nights, he walks through the desert. Finally, he gets to Mount Horeb, Mount Sinai, the place where God met Moses in the burning bush. He finds this cave there and he spends the night. And then Yahweh's word comes to him and he says, "Why are you here, Elijah?" And Elijah, he pours his heart out. He says, "I've been passionate and loyal to you when everyone else abandoned you. They've torn down your altars and murdered your prophets, and now they're trying to kill me too, and I'm the only one left." And God says, "Go out, stand on the mountain I'm about to pass by." And then this great wind tears across the mountain. It says the stones break and the rocks shatter. But God isn't in the wind. This earthquake comes and the whole mountain shakes. But God isn't in the earthquake. And it says this fire comes down. This fire comes. And I imagine Elijah, if I'm like him, he's like, "Fire! We just did this together. This is God." But God isn't in the fire. The text says that there's this silence. And Elijah hears this voice, thin and small. And he wraps his face in his cloak and he walks out to the edge of the cave. And God asks him again, he says, "Elijah, why are you here?" And Elijah repeats again. He says, "I've been passionate and loyal when everyone else abandoned you. They've torn down your altars and murdered your prophets. Now they're going to kill me too. I'm the only one left." He's completely honest with God, laying it out there for him. He's saying, "God, we've been through the desert, literally. I'm at my end. What else do you want from me? Have you given up on me?" But God hasn't given up on Elijah. He says, "Elijah, go back the way you came. You're going to anoint Hazael, anoint Jehu, and anoint Elisha. And they're going to continue what you started." And by the way, there are 7,000 other people in the land who haven't bowed to Baal. You are not alone, and I am not done with you. He's like, "You thought you knew me on Mount Carmel? Thought you knew what I was like, but that was just a fraction of who I am. I am so much more. And for you, I've got so much more for you too. I'm inviting you in to more." That's a wild story, right? I couldn't make that up. I mean, it's so cool. I want to back up a second and just ask a question. What was it that God first asked Elijah to do? He said, "Go, appear before Ahab, and I'll send rain on the earth." Is there any evidence that God says to Elijah, "Go have a big showdown with the prophets on Mount Carmel"? I don't see it in the text. It's possible that God said that to him. I don't know. But either way, one thing I think is so amazing is that God showed up for Elijah exactly how Elijah needed him to. The God we meet later on the mountain at Mount Sinai, the voice thin and small, is nothing like the God of fire that shows up in Elijah's life on Mount Carmel. Elijah has this box for what God is like, what to expect from God. This box of order where life is good and things make sense. And he goes through the desert. He lives through this disorder. And then God shows up in a different way, in a new voice. He begins to reorder and reimagine and call Elijah in to more. I think it's such a gift that God would show up for Elijah just how he needed to, in power and fire. He met Elijah right where he was at, in the way he believed, in the way he expected God to show up. That's how God showed up for him. He met him just as he needed. Of course, now, I don't think that hell is down and heaven is up. But when I was a kid, I needed concrete ways of imagining what God is like. Things that were simple and black and white. God is so beyond our human ability to imagine him. He needs to give us these ways that we can actually think about who he is. But as I've grown and learned more, experienced God more, I began to know him better and differently. Things that were so clear and simple and black and white can now have nuance and grace. I think order can be a gift. It's God meeting us where we're at, and the way we need him to meet with us and show him to us, show himself to us. We need order. But inevitably, we realize that the WWF maybe isn't as real as we once thought it was. We have to reimagine what it's like. We encounter these crisis moments and wrestle with the things we were so sure of, and they push us into the desert. When I look back over my own life, I think about the moments of disorder, the desert moments that I walked through. I can think of long seasons of deserts in my life. I remember I was in Bible college, and I came out of a church service one evening, and the preacher that day, he was asking a tough question. He's like, do you really want to follow God? Do you really want to? And I'm thinking to myself, I don't know for sure. Like I know I'm at Bible college. I've paid all this money. I'm headed this direction, but I don't know if I can do it. Like I got to believe all the right things and have all the right answers. What if I change my belief and I lose my job or I don't get my degree? And I was like, I just felt so alone. And at night, as I walked back to my dorm, it was like a cold January evening, like that real cold. But the cold I felt that night was like colder than cold. It was like a lonely cold. And I was like, God, I don't know if I really want this. And I began to think and pray. And I was able to say, God, I at least want to want this, even if I don't right now. And God met me in that moment. And after days and weeks, began to work out and reshape and reorder my belief and ability to believe in and follow him. I've had all kinds of seasons that are very similar. Probably more than a pastor should have, but I've gone through a lot of them. I remember when I was a couple years later after that, I was wrestling with this idea of hell and the afterlife. I'm like, how does a God who's all powerful, who can do anything he wants, why do people get sent to hell to suffer and be punished for eternity? That doesn't make sense to me. Like, God, you make the rules, right? You're God. Why'd you set it up this way? I don't understand. And for weeks and months, I said, God, I don't understand you. And God slowly began to work with me and transform my thinking, reorder the way I thought about him and justice and eternity, and slowly reorder through painful work. About 10 years ago, I lost my dad to cancer. And, I thought for sure, my family thought for sure that God would heal him. Like, take that cancer away. We prayed and were expectant, and then God didn't show up how we wanted him to. And I thought, like, we've done all we could do. We've given our lives to following Jesus. My dad was a great follower of Jesus. Why didn't you answer this prayer? And I was like, God, I don't understand. Why couldn't you show up for us like that? And I still don't know necessarily why God didn't show up in that way. But in the midst of my pain and my questioning, in the middle of my disorder, things I couldn't understand, God was so gracious to me. He was patient with me as I worked through things in my own chaos. He walked with me. It's like he says, get up. Here's some bread and some water. We're going to walk through the desert. It might be 40 days and 40 nights or longer. But when we get to the mountain, you can ask me anything you want. You can be honest with me. You can give me all your questions. You can lay it out for me if you want to. Take your time. And when you're ready, I'll begin to reorder some things for you. God is not afraid of your questions. He isn't afraid of your doubts. He's not insecure by your honesty. He's big enough to hold those things and sit with you in them and meet you right there and stay with you in the midst of it. I believe that. If you're in a season of disorder, trying to put some pieces back together, which can be long or hard work, I want you to know that no matter how long that's taking or taken you, even if you want to crawl up under a broom bush, God is patient. God still has purpose for you. He's inviting you into more. That invitation will not go away. He will keep inviting you into more for you. One thing I appreciate about the story is Elijah. He still trusts God after all this. Despite having one experience, this desert of his life, and having to re-experience God in a different way, he still trusts what God has for him. If you're putting things back together today or this week or this month, this year, there might be areas that you can let go of, that you don't need anymore. You can let go of hell being down and heaven being up, that's fine. But there might be things that you can look back on with appreciation or a new understanding. Maybe pick them back up in a different way, to see God in a new perspective and appreciate it for what it was or what it might be now. Like when you sit on the couch and watch wrestling again, or when you're acting just like your parents, the ways that drove you crazy, and you're like, I hate that I'm doing this, but I get it. Maybe that you can look back on your old self, offer grace to yourself, the way you used to think about things. Say, you know what? That was good for a season. That was helpful to me for while it was there. And I can appreciate it and look back on it, and I'll be called into more, in something new, a new way of understanding or experiencing God. You can say yes to God one more time as he invites you to more. Whatever box you're in, you probably have things in your life that are in each of these boxes: order, disorder, and reorder, maybe all at the same time, as you're figuring out different areas of your life and parenting and faith and adulthood and school, and you're like, I don't get it all the time. But I want you to know that God is meeting with you right where you're at. He's patient, willing to walk with you through these moments. No matter how deep the chaos goes or how long it's been going on or how distraught you might feel or how distant God might feel today, he might feel far away. He wants to help you reorder things. He still has purpose for you. He's not done. He's for you. He's working with you. And he is inviting each of you to more today. He's got more for you.